Hi friends, welcome back to another video. So as you can tell by the title of the video, it is going to be a little bit more of some spicy content today. What the theme that we're going to be discussing today is using sex as a form of self-harm. So the definition of self-harm is the act of hurting oneself as an emotional coping mechanism. So when you think about this, it can really be a wide variety of different things. For me, I always thought that self-harm was very obviously physical, whether that be cutting or burning or that sort of thing. I didn't come to realize that self-harm actually had so many different faces until my spiritual awakening, when I really started to dive into shadow work. I do just want to quick say that everybody's different, and I always just talk about my own point of view, so it may not resonate when I'm talking about this, but I just want to be honest with you guys because it might help somebody, and it might help somebody feel less alone. But the first point I want to make is actually about compulsory heterosexuality and how that actually connects to sex, because growing up female, being raised as a girl, there's a lot of things that are ingrained into us, like the idea that we have to always seek male attention, and that's something that I didn't really question growing up. I just was like, oh yeah, I like guys because that's like the default, right? And so that also gave me this idea that I needed to be having sex with men in order to find love. Or I've talked about this in some of my other videos, how finding a partner was always a big theme in my life, because it's something that the elders in my life always put a lot of emphasis on. But getting back to the point, I feel like being raised as a girl, I was always looking for male attention, and I never really stopped to think if that was what I wanted or not. So that put me in a lot of compromising situations. I put myself in a lot of compromising situations thinking that that was what I wanted, when that wasn't what I wanted at all. And I misconstrued so many different feelings in my body as liking specifically men because one example is like when people talk about butterflies in your stomach. I would get so much anxiety in my stomach when I would go to meet up or have dates with men, and I'd get so much anxiety to the point where I felt like I wanted to puke, and I would have so much dread, actual dread about going out on dates. And I was like, oh, this is just what butterflies feel like, because that's what, I don't know, I just associated that with my entire life, and it made me want to give my body up in order for men to like me. In order to get that approval, I was sacrificing my sexuality, and I was sacrificing my body to be able to fulfill this idea that I needed, basically that I had to exist within heteronormativity. And I think that this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and it can take a lot of time to even realize that you're existing within the box that society gives you. I know that that was my experience for sure. I always just thought, oh, this is who I am, and I never really questioned it until I got older, until I actually went through my spiritual awakening. My spiritual awakening forced me to go into a lot of shadow work, do a lot of deep diving on my own actions and about how society works around us, and just, I mean, everybody that's gone through a spiritual awakening knows you question everything. You question everything, and that a lot of that questioning came down to myself too. Not only was I questioning the universe and the world around me and the way that politics work, but I was questioning how I act and how I'm toxic, and the ways that I can heal myself to be a better person, not just for me, but for the people that I surround myself with too. And a lot of that came, well, a big portion of that actually came down to how I was using sex as a form of, first, distraction and self-harm. I never really enjoyed sex that much. I have before, don't get me wrong, I definitely have, but I feel like I've always used it as a way of distracting myself and as a way for other people to like me. I feel like sex was always a way for me to give my power to somebody else instead of empowering myself, which you can totally 110% empower yourself through sex. However, that is definitely not the way that I've been doing it my entire sexual life, pretty much. Because the first time I ever had sex, it was, well, technically it was abuse, so I don't know if I don't really count that, like it was an assault basically. And I've had a lot of sexual trauma, and so I've always just, I think even subconsciously, I've just associated sex with being powerless, and so a lot of my relationships or sexual encounters have reflected that. Basically, I was feeling a lot of shame and I was doing it to numb myself. I grew up Christian with purity culture, and so I mean that's a whole other topic for another video and how harmful purity culture is, but I also associated sex with shame, and so like I have realized that subconsciously I would use sex when I was sad in a way to make me almost feel worse. Like I would think, oh, this is gonna make me feel better, but it would just make me feel worse, and that is, and like I was harming myself, and I never even really realized it, how harmful I had actually been to my body for a very long time. I mean, I was like 22 when I finally realized. And obviously I'm only talking about my experience, because you can have sex with a lot of people, you could do whatever you want with your body, but for me, I really just needed to not do that at all. Like I needed to just completely take a break from everything, from dating apps, which can be so incredibly exhausting, and I just did that. I just completely took some time for myself. So everything really started to change when I took the active decision to stop dating and to stop like focusing on somebody else loving me and focusing on loving myself. So I just took a break off of all of my dating apps, and I just really was getting in touch with who I am. I was so out of touch with my body and my identity, and I didn't even realize it. And everything started to change. I started to realize who I actually am and how I want to feel. And I know I've spoken about this before, but I just asked myself the question, who would I be if I never had to worry about people being attracted to me? And it changed, that question, it literally changed my life, because my entire life I was so hung up on the idea of people being attracted to me. Like that's literally all I cared about. It was people liking me and people being attracted to me. That's all I cared about. I completely molded myself into people that I wasn't for so long, just because I wanted to fit in, because I wanted to feel worthy. And I did the same thing with sex. Of course I did. A big part of my spiritual awakening has been about honoring myself, because I've never done that before. And through honoring myself, a big part of that is discovering what healthy sex looks like for me, because everybody's different. Every single person is different, and like I said, you can empower yourself through sex as well. So I'm not saying not to do that. I'm just saying for me, it was very empowering for me not to have sex, because I had never given myself the chance to say no, and I had always just done it because I feel like parts of sex can be compulsory, and I always encourage people to take some time to really do a deep dive on their sex life and how they view sex, because like I said, it can be compulsory, and that's what happened with me. And once I actually took the time to completely just stop and reevaluate how I want to view sex, I realized that I was never holding any sacred space for myself. I was never holding any sacred space to how I want to feel and my desires and my wants. I always was just looking for other people and looking to please other people and to fit into molds of what other people wanted, and thinking that that could give me happiness when it didn't. Not at all. Spiritual awakening, it really makes you question so many things in your life, and it makes you, for me, it turned my entire life upside down, and that was the best thing that could ever happen, because I feel I know myself so much better now, and I am so much more compassionate to myself and to others, and I definitely have learned a lot more, and standing up for the things that I believe in a lot more. And I definitely, I would not change a thing. I know that spiritual awakenings are hard, and it can feel like a big kick in the ass sometimes, especially shadow work, but it's all worth it. And if I can encourage you guys to honor yourselves and to put yourself first and to truly love yourself, and I think that's why I do it. That's because it's so important, you guys. It's so important to learn how to honor yourself, and it's not easy, especially growing up in the world that we do. It's hella not easy, but I think we're all doing a pretty damn good job, and loving ourselves is worth it. You know, it's being able to express your true self, being comfortable in your skin, being empowered in your skin it's the best feeling ever, and everybody deserves to feel empowered and to feel like they can set healthy boundaries and feel like they can say no and to do whatever the hell they want with their life, and to have sex with whoever they want if that's what they want to do, or to not have sex ever again if that's what they want to do. But yeah, alright, that was a little bit of a ramble there at the end, but I love you guys so much. Make sure you're subscribed, and yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day.